The text said she always gets what she wants. I didn't understand, until she made me her assistant the same day I accidentally kissed her. The photo went viral before I finished orientation. Her response? She didn't fire me. She kept me closer. I wasn't supposed to kiss her. I wasn't supposed to be in that elevator. I wasn't even supposed to be here, at Sterling and Associates, where the coffee costs more than my weekly grocery budget, and every surface gleams like judgment. But here I was. First day. New junior architect. Lee Soman, the girl who survived on instant noodles and library Wi-Fi to earn a degree nobody thought mattered. The elevator door slid open on the 42nd floor, and I stepped inside, clutching my portfolio like it could shield me from my own nerves. That's when she walked in. Choi Yeonhee. I knew her face from the company website. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that never smiled in photographs, hair pulled back so severely it looked like armor. The youngest creative director in Sterling's history, 28 and untouchable. They called her the Ice Queen, and not because she was pretty. She didn't look at me, just pressed the button for the executive floor, and stood perfectly still, like she'd been carved from stone. I tried not to stare, failed. She wore a black blazer tailored so precisely it probably cost more than my rent. Her heels made no sound against the marble floor. Even her breathing seemed controlled, measured, distant, like she existed in a world where oxygen was optional. The elevator climbed. 43, 44. My heart hammered for no reason. Then the lights flickered. The elevator lurched. I stumbled forward, portfolio flying from my hands, and suddenly I was falling, directly into her. Her hands caught my shoulders, steadied me, and for one breathless second, we were too close. Close enough that I could see the tiny scar above her left eyebrow. Close enough to smell that cedar scent mixed with something warmer. Something that made my pulse stutter. The elevator jolted again. Harder this time. I gasped, and she pulled me closer. Protective. Instinctive. And that's when it happened. The world tilted, my balance shattered, and my lips brushed hers. Just a graze. A mistake. An accident born from physics and panic. But it was enough. Time stopped. Her eyes widened, just a fraction, and I saw something flicker behind that ice. Shock, maybe. Or something darker. Something I couldn't name. I yanked myself back, cheeks burning. I'm sorry. I didn't. The elevator shuddered to a halt. Emergency lights bathed us in red, and through the glass elevator doors, I saw them. 40 people. Maybe more. Standing in the lobby, staring up at us like we were a car crash they couldn't look away from. Someone was holding up a phone. Recording. Oh, God. I'm so sorry, I whispered again, pressing myself against the elevator wall like I could disappear into it. That was... I didn't mean to. Yeonhee said nothing. Just straightened her blazer, smoothed her hair. And when the elevator finally lurched back to life and the doors opened, she stepped out like nothing had happened. No backward glance, no acknowledgement. Just that same cold, untouchable silence. I stood there, frozen, while whispers erupted around me. Did you see that? Who is she? New hire? I think. Yeonhee's going to destroy her. My hands trembled as I picked up my scattered portfolio. This was supposed to be my fresh start, my chance to prove I belonged somewhere that wasn't my mother's worried phone calls, or my ex-roommate's pity. Instead, I'd just kissed the most terrifying woman in the building. In front of everyone. The rest of the morning blurred into a nightmare of paperwork and forced smiles. HR didn't mention the elevator. My supervisor didn't mention the elevator, but everyone else did. In the break room, by the water cooler, through glances that felt like dissection. By lunch, I'd seen the photo. Someone had posted it in the company Slack. A blurry shot through the elevator glass. Me, stumbling into her. Her hands on my shoulders. Our faces too close. The caption, Ice Queen finally melts. I wanted to die, and I wanted to quit. I wanted to go back to my tiny apartment and pretend this whole humiliating disaster never happened. Instead, I got an email. From Choi Yeonhee. Subject, reassignment message, report to my office. Now. My stomach dropped. This was it. Termination on day 1. A record even I didn't want to set. I took the stairs, couldn't face that elevator again, and by the time I reached the executive floor, my hands were shaking so hard I had to clench them into fists. Yeonhee's office sat at the end of a hallway that felt like a gallery, floor-to-ceiling windows, abstract art that probably cost more than my student loans. Silence so thick, it felt intentional. I knocked. Come in. Her voice was silk over steel. I pushed the door open. Yeonhee sat behind a glass desk, fingers steepled, and eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my breath catch. The city sprawled behind her. Manhattan at sunset, all golden light and shadow. She looked like she ruled it. Sit. I sat. She didn't speak immediately, just studied me with that same unreadable expression from the elevator, like I was a problem she was deciding how to solve. Finally, she leaned back in her chair. Lee Soman, junior architect, top of your class at Columbia, scholarship student. No connections, no safety net. She knew everything. I'm sorry about this morning, I managed. It was an accident. I know. 2 words. Flat. Final. I blinked. No. The elevator malfunctioned. You lost your balance. It was mechanical failure. Not intention. She tilted her head slightly, though the result was inconvenient. Inconvenient. Right. That's what we were calling public humiliation now. I'll keep my head down, I said quickly. I won't cause any more problems. I really need this job. Something shifted in her expression, so subtle I almost missed it. I'm aware. She stood, walked to the window, hands clasped behind her back. You'll be reassigned, effective immediately. My heart sank. Here it comes, the polite dismissal, the end of everything I'd worked for. You'll report directly to me, she continued, her reflection sharp in the glass. As my personal assistant on the Kingston project. I stared at her back, certain I'd misheard. I'm sorry, what? She turned, met my eyes, and for the first time since the elevator, I saw it again. That flicker beneath the ice. Hunger. Calculation. Something that made my skin prickle with warning. That you wanted to prove you belonged here, didn't you? Her voice was quiet. Dangerous. Yes, I whispered. Then prove it. She stepped closer. Close enough that I caught that cedar scent again, warm and dizzying. The Kingston project is a $200 million development. High stakes. High visibility. If you succeed, your career is made. If you fail, she didn't finish. Didn't need to. I won't fail, I said, though my voice shook. Yeonhee's lips curved, not quite a smile, but close enough to be terrifying. We'll see. She moved past me, toward the door, and paused. One more thing, Soman. I turned. Her eyes locked onto mine, dark and burning and impossible to read. Stay close. I don't like repeating myself. The door clicked shut behind her. And I sat there, alone in her office, heart pounding, hands trembling, and wondering what the hell I'd just agreed to, because something in the way she looked at me, like I was a puzzle she intended to solve, piece by piece, felt far more dangerous than any elevator malfunction. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the message. A photo. Me and Yeonhee in the elevator. Closer angle than the Slack post. Almost intimate. Below it, a single line. She always gets what she wants. And now, she wants you. I stared at the message until my screen went dark. She always gets what she wants. And now, she wants you. My thumb hovered over the delete button, but I couldn't do it. Couldn't stop reading those words over and over, like they were a warning I was too stupid to heed. Someone knocked on the glass wall beside me. I nearly dropped my phone. First day jitters. A woman stood there, mid-30s, perfectly styled bob, smile that didn't reach her eyes. She wore a burgundy dress that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe, and a diamond bracelet caught the light as she extended her hand. Park Ji-won, senior architect. I shook her hand. Her grip was firm, assessing. Lee So-min, junior architect. Well, I was. Now I'm apparently Yeonhee's new pet project. Ji-won's smile sharpened. I heard. The way she said Yeonhee's name. Familiar, intimate, like she'd earned the right to drop formality, made something uncomfortable twist in my chest. It's just an assignment, I said quickly. The Kingston project needs extra hands, and Darling. Ji-won leaned against my cubicle, voice dropping to something almost sympathetic. Yeonhee doesn't do charity. If she's keeping you close, there's a reason. She glanced at my phone, still clutched in my hand. Word of advice? Don't get too comfortable. She collects broken things. Her eyes met mine, and for a second, I saw something raw beneath the polish. And when she's done, she throws them away. She walked off before I could respond, heels clicking against marble like a countdown. I looked down at the anonymous text again, then deleted it. Yeonhee's office became my prison. For 3 days I lived in that glass tower, surrounded by blueprints and budget projections and the constant, suffocating awareness of her presence. She didn't hover, didn't micromanage. She just existed in my peripheral vision like gravity, inescapable, pulling everything toward her center. Coffee, black, no sugar. Her voice cut through my concentration on the third morning. I looked up from the structural plans spread across the conference table. She stood by the window, silhouetted against the skyline, not even looking at me. There's a cafe on the corner, she continued, still facing the glass. They open at 6. I expect it on my desk by 6:15. I checked my watch. 6:02. That's really specific. I don't like waiting. Something in her tone made it clear this wasn't a request. I grabbed my coat. The cafe was small, tucked between skyscrapers like an afterthought. The kind of place where the barista knew regulars by name, and the coffee smelled like comfort instead of capitalism. Large black coffee, I told the guy behind the counter. No sugar. For Yeonhee, I blinked. You know her? He smiled, tired but genuine. She's been coming here for 5 years. Same order, same time, never misses a day. 5 years. Before she was creative director, before the Ice Queen reputation. She tips well, he added, sliding the cup across the counter. Doesn't talk much, but she remembers things. Asked about my daughter's surgery last month. sent flowers to the hospital. I stared at the coffee cup, and suddenly seeing a crack in the armor I thought was seamless. She never mentioned that. She wouldn't. I made it back at 6:13. Yeonhee was already at her desk, reviewing contracts with the same focused intensity she gave everything. I set the coffee down carefully, trying not to disturb her. She didn't look up, just reached for the cup, took a sip, and went still. Her eyes lifted to mine. You went to Romano's. It wasn't a question. You didn't specify where, I said. Just coffee, black, no sugar. I always go to Starbucks. It's faster. Romano's is better. The silence stretched between us, charged with something I couldn't name. Then so quietly I almost missed it. She said, Yes, it is. She took another sip, and I swear something in her expression softened. Just for a heartbeat, and just enough to make my pulse stutter. The Kingston site visit is tomorrow, she said, voice back to business. 6 a.m., don't be late. I nodded and turned to leave. Somin. I stopped, hand on the door. Tomorrow. Romano's again. Not a question. Not quite a command. Just a choice she was making. Okay, I whispered. The site visit was chaos. Rain hammered the half-finished waterfront structure, turning the construction zone into a mud pit. Yeonhee moved through it like she was born for storms. Steel-toed boots, hard hat, completely unfazed by the weather destroying my cheap umbrella. The foundation's settling unevenly, she called over the rain, pointing to measurements I couldn't read through the downpour. We need to recalculate the load distribution before the next phase. I nodded, and trying to take notes on a tablet that kept slipping in my wet hands. That's when I heard it. A crack. Sharp and wrong. Everyone back! Someone shouted. I looked up. The scaffolding above us was collapsing. Metal shrieked against metal. Workers scattered. And I just stood there, frozen, watching tons of steel and wood plummet directly toward me. Then Yeonhee slammed into me. Her body collided with mine, arms wrapping around my waist as she yanked me sideways. We hit the mud hard, her weight pinning me down as the scaffolding crashed exactly where I'd been standing. Dust and rain and chaos. Then silence. Her breath was hot against my neck. Her heart pounded against my back, fast, human, terrified in a way her face would never show. "Are you hurt?" she demanded, voice rough. I couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. And because her arms were still around me, trembling slightly, and I could feel every point where our bodies connected through our soaked clothes. Somin, sharper now, almost desperate. "Answer me." "I'm okay," I managed. She didn't let go. Not immediately. For 3 seconds, I counted, she just held me there in the mud, like she was afraid I'd disappear if she moved. Then she pulled back, and the mask slammed into place. "Get up. We need to file an incident report." She stood, brushed mud off her jacket like nothing had happened, and walked toward the site supervisor. I stayed on the ground, chest heaving, trying to understand why my whole body felt like it was burning despite the rain. Because she'd saved me. Because for 3 seconds I'd felt her shake. Because when I looked down I saw blood. Not mine. Just a gash above her left eyebrow, the same place that Tiny Scar lived, bleeding steadily down her temple. "Yeonhee!" I scrambled to my feet. "You're hurt." She touched her forehead, looked at the blood on her fingers like it was mildly inconvenient. "It's nothing. You need stitches. I need to secure this site before someone else gets killed. You just saved my life." She turned, and for the first time since the elevator, I saw her truly look at me. Not through me, not past me, at me, like I was the only real thing in a world of blueprints and budgets. Yes, she said quietly. I did. The rain kept falling. My heart kept racing. And somewhere in the space between us, something fundamental shifted. The ambulance came. Yeonhee refused treatment until I physically pushed her into the back. I'm fine, she insisted, as the paramedic cleaned the wound. You took a metal beam to the head. Barely grazed me. There's blood in your hair. She caught my wrist, gentle but firm, and pulled me closer. Close enough that I could see the gold flecks in her dark eyes. Close enough to smell cedar mixed with rain and copper. Why do you care? She asked, voice low. Because you saved me. Because you're bleeding. Because I can't stop thinking about the way you held me in the mud like I mattered. Because you're my boss, I said instead. Something flickered across her face. Disappointment, maybe. She released my wrist. The paramedic finished bandaging her temple and stepped away to file paperwork. We sat there in the ambulance, rain drumming on the roof, neither of us moving. The coffee this morning, Yeonhee said suddenly. Romano's. How did you know? The barista told me you've been going there for 5 years. And you remembered. You remember that I take my portfolio everywhere, that I'm left-handed, that I stopped, because she was staring at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. I noticed things, she said softly, about you. The ambulance doors opened. A woman stood there, expensive coat, perfect makeup, that same diamond bracelet catching the grey light. Jiwon. Yeonhee. Her voice was smooth, concerned. I heard about the accident. Are you all right? But she wasn't looking at Yeonhee. She was looking at me, and her smile was a knife wrapped in silk. You must be Somin, the girl from the elevator. She stepped into the ambulance uninvited, sitting across from us. I'm surprised you're still here. Most people don't last a week under Yeonhee's attention. Yeonhee's jaw tightened. Jiwon, this isn't. I'm just worried about you, darling. Jiwon reached out, fingers brushing the bandage on Yeonhee's temple with disturbing familiarity. You never were good at protecting yourself. Her eyes met mine over Yeonhee's shoulder. Tell me, Somin, has she warned you yet? Warned me about what? Jiwon's smile widened. About the bet. The world stopped. Yeonhee went completely still beside me. What bet? I asked, though dread was already pooling in my stomach. Jiwon pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward me. A group chat. Senior partners. Dated 2 weeks before I was hired. A Park Ice Queen needs to prove she's still human. Kim. Bet she can't make the new scholarship girl fall for her. Lee. $10,000 says she doesn't even try. Choi Yeonhee. I'll take that bet. I stopped breathing. She always wins, Jiwon whispered, tucking her phone away. And you, sweetheart? We're just the easiest target. The coffee I'd bought her that morning sat cold on her desk. I wondered if betrayal tasted like cedar and lies. I didn't remember leaving the ambulance. Didn't remember walking back through the rain or climbing into the company car, or watching the city blur past through water-streaked windows. All I could see was that screenshot. Choi Yeonhee. I'll take that bet. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Somin. Her voice cut through the white noise in my head. We were alone in the back seat, driver separated by tinted glass, and she sat too close. Close enough that I could smell the antiseptic from her bandage, mixed with that damned cedar scent. I pressed myself against the door. Don't. Let me explain. Explain what? My voice cracked. That everything was a game. That you hired me, kept me close, I'd saved my life today because of $10,000. It's not. Was the coffee part of it? The scaffolding? Were you planning how to make me fall for you while I was bleeding in the mud? Silence. She stared at me with those dark, unreadable eyes, jaw tight, and said nothing. Nothing. And somehow that hurt worse than any explanation could have. "Stop the car," I whispered. Stop the car!" The driver pulled over. I didn't wait for it to fully stop before I shoved the door open and stumbled onto the sidewalk. Rain soaked through my jacket immediately. I didn't care. Behind me, I heard her door open. "Don't follow me," I said without turning around. "Don't call me. Just don't." I walked. She didn't follow. I called in sick the next day. And the day after that, my phone buzzed constantly. HR asking for documentation, my supervisor checking in, unknown numbers I didn't answer. No messages from Yeonhee. Somehow that felt like proof, like she'd gotten what she wanted, made the scholarship girl crack, and now she was done. On the third day my landlord knocked. "Package for you." I opened the door. He handed me a slim envelope, expensive paper, no return address. Inside, a check, $15,000, and a note in handwriting so precise it looked printed. Medical expenses, hazard pay, take the time you need. No signature. I tore the check in half, then in quarters, then into pieces so small they looked like snow. I went back on Monday. Not because I forgave her. Not because the anger had faded. Because I needed this job. Because quitting meant she won. Because somewhere beneath the betrayal and humiliation, a small, stupid part of me wanted to look her in the eye and make her see what she'd broken. The office felt different. Whispers followed me through the halls. Pitying glances. A few smirks from people who probably had money on how long I'd last. I kept my head down and headed straight for my cubicle. Someone had left flowers on my desk. White roses, no card. I threw them in the trash. Brutal. I turned. Jiwon leaned against the partition, perfectly composed in a cream blazer, watching me with something like amusement. "They were from her, weren't they?" I asked. "Who else?" Jiwon's smile was sharp. Yeonhee doesn't apologize with words. She buys things, fixes things, throws money at problems until they disappear. "I'm not a problem. Aren't you?" She stepped closer, and voice dropping to something almost gentle. "Look, I know I'm the villain in whatever narrative you've built, but I'm trying to help you." She glanced toward the executive floor. She did the same thing to me 3 years ago. Made me feel special, noticed, chosen. Her fingers touched the diamond bracelet absently. This was a gift. After she won her bet with the partners, proof she could make the lead architect fall for her. Jiwon's eyes met mine. I wore it for 6 months before I found out the truth. My stomach twisted. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you remind me of who I was, before I learned." She straightened, all business again. "Yeonhee doesn't love Somin. She conquers. And the sooner you accept that, the less it'll destroy you when she moves on to her next challenge." She walked away, leaving me standing there with a trash can full of roses and a chest full of thorns. I avoided Yeonhee for 2 weeks, changed my schedule, took stairs instead of elevators, ate lunch at my desk. The Kingston project continued without me. Reassigned to another team. My name scrubbed from the documentation, like I'd never existed. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like erasure. Then the storm hit. Not weather, corporate warfare. The Kingston project permits were denied. Investors pulled out overnight. Rumors spread that Sterling was hemorrhaging money, that heads would roll, that the youngest creative director in company history was about to become the fastest burnout. I told myself I didn't care, told myself Yeonhee's professional destruction wasn't my problem. But when I saw her in the parking garage at midnight, I'd sitting in her car with her forehead against the steering wheel, I couldn't walk away. I knocked on the window. She didn't move, didn't acknowledge me. I opened the passenger door and slid inside. The car smelled like coffee. Romano's, I realized, seeing the empty cup in the holder. She'd been going without me. "You should go home," she said quietly, still not looking up. "So should you." "Can't. If I stop moving, I'll have to think about how spectacularly I've failed." Her voice was raw, human, stripped of every defense I'd seen her build. "The permits. Sabotage. Someone leaked our structural plans to the city inspector, highlighted every potential flaw, made us look incompetent." She finally lifted her head. Her eyes were red-rimmed. 3 years of work. Gone. I should have felt vindicated. Should have enjoyed watching her empire crumble. Instead, I felt my chest ache. "Who would do that?" "Someone who wants me gone." She laughed, bitter and broken. "Take your pick. I've made enough enemies." Silence settled between us. Rain started pattering against the windshield, soft at first, then building to a downpour that cocooned us in sound. "The bet," I said finally. "Was any of it real?" She turned to me, and I saw something crack in her expression. "I didn't take the bet." I blinked. Jiwon showed me. A fake screenshot. Yeonhee pulled out her phone, opened her messages, scrolled back weeks. Here, the real conversation. I looked. "I'm Park. Ice Queen needs to prove she's still human. Kim. Bet she can't make the new scholarship girl fall for her. Lee. $10,000 says she doesn't even try. Choi Yeonhee. That's disgusting. Touch her career, and I'll bury you." My breath caught. Jiwon doctored the image. Yeonhee continued, voice flat. "Changed my response. Sent it to you through a burner number to make you think." She stopped. "To make you hate me." Why would she? Because I chose you. The words hung in the rain-filled air between us. "I don't understand," I whispered. Yeonhee's hand moved, hesitant, trembling slightly, and touched my cheek. The same gentleness she'd shown in the mud after the scaffolding, the same care she'd hidden behind every cold command. "The elevator, the coffee, keeping you close." Her thumb brushed my cheekbone. I told myself it was professional, that I was mentoring you. But the truth? Her eyes locked onto mine. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the second you stumbled into me, and that terrified me more than any failed project ever could." My heart was a war drum. "You're saying..." "I'm saying Jiwon saw it before I did, that I was falling, that for the first time in my life, I wanted someone more than I wanted control." She pulled her hand back, so she decided to destroy it. Destroy us. Before we even had a chance to begin. I should have been angry. Should have demanded proof, questioned everything. But all I could focus on was the way she looked at me. Like I was the only solid thing in a world collapsing around her. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "When she showed me that screenshot, you just sat there, silent. Because part of me thought you deserved better than someone like me." Her smile was broken. "Someone who knows how to love without conquest, without strategy, without..." I kissed her. Didn't think, didn't plan. Just leaned across the center console and pressed my lips to hers with every ounce of confusion and anger and desperate, aching want burning through my chest. She froze. Then her hand slid into my hair, and she kissed me back like she was drowning and I was air. It wasn't gentle, wasn't soft. It was 3 weeks of tension and denial, and fighting something inevitable finally detonating between us. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, her forehead rested against mine. "This is a terrible idea," she whispered. "I know. I'm your boss, like the power dynamic alone. I know. And if Jiwon could fake one screenshot..." Glass exploded. The passenger window shattered inward, and I felt Yeonhee yank me down across the seats as something metal crashed into the space where my head had been. A brick, with a note wrapped around it. Yeonhee grabbed it with shaking hands, unwrapped the paper. "Stay away from what's mine. Final warning." She stared at it, then looked at me, eyes wide with something I'd never seen in her before. Fear. "We need to leave," she said. "Now." "What's happening?" The garage lights cut out. Darkness swallowed us whole. And in the rearview mirror, I saw a figure standing behind the car, watching, waiting. Yeonhee's hand found mine in the dark. "Whatever happens," she breathed. "Don't let go." Her hand was ice cold in mine. The figure in the rearview mirror didn't move. Neither did we. Yeonhee's fingers tightened around mine, trembling, desperate, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely afraid. "Lock your door," she whispered. I fumbled for the lock button, eyes fixed on the shadow behind us. The figure stood perfectly still, silhouetted against the emergency exit sign's dim red glow, watching. "Do you know who that is?" I breathed. "No." Her voice was thin. "But they know us." She reached for the ignition. The engine roared to life, headlights flooding the garage. The figure was gone. Just empty concrete where they'd been standing. "Where?" "Doesn't matter." Yeonhee threw the car into reverse, tires screaming as she backed up, spun around, and gunned it toward the exit ramp. "'Cause we're not staying to find out." Rain hammered the windshield as we burst onto the street. She drove like someone being chased. Sharp turns, sudden lane changes, constantly checking mirrors. "Yeonhee, slow down." "Can't." Her knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Not until I know you're safe." "Safe from what? A brick through a window?" She didn't answer. Just kept driving until the skyscrapers thinned, and we crossed into a neighborhood I didn't recognize. Brownstones and tree-lined streets that felt like a different city entirely. She pulled into an underground garage, parked, and finally let go of the wheel. Her hands were shaking. "We're staying here tonight," she said, voice carefully controlled. "My apartment. It's secure. You think someone's actually... I don't think. I know." She looked at me, and the fear I'd seen earlier had hardened into something else. Determination. "Jiwon didn't just fabricate that screenshot to hurt you. She's been sabotaging the Kingston project for months. The permits, the investors, the leaks. All her." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because she wants me destroyed." Yeonhee got out of the car. "And she's decided the best way to do that is through you." Her apartment was nothing like I'd imagined. I'd expected cold minimalism, glass and steel, a space as controlled as she was. Instead, I walked into warmth, exposed brick, bookshelves crammed with novels and architecture journals, a worn leather couch, plants, actual living things, thriving near the windows, and the scent of cedar everywhere, mixed with something softer. Vanilla, maybe. "You live here?" I asked, too stunned to filter. "Shocking, isn't it?" She locked the door behind us, 3 separate deadbolts. The Ice Queen has a home that doesn't look like a morgue. I turned to find her watching me, something vulnerable in her expression. I thought you'd live somewhere more. You. This is me. She shrugged out of her jacket, wincing when the movement pulled at her bandaged temple. The office is armor. This is where I remember I'm human. She disappeared into the kitchen, leaving me standing awkwardly in the living room. I should have felt trapped, should have demanded she take me home. Instead, I felt safe for the first time in weeks. "Tea or whiskey?" she called. "What are you having?" "Both." I smiled despite everything. "Then both." We sat on opposite ends of the couch, careful distance between us, mugs of chamomile warming our hands, and whiskey glasses waiting on the coffee table. The rain outside had softened to a steady rhythm against the windows. "Tell me about Ji-won," I said quietly. "The real story." Yeonhee stared into her tea like it held answers. "We worked together 4 years ago. Different firm. She was brilliant, ruthless, ambitious, everything I thought I needed in a partner." She paused. "Professional partner. It never went further than that, despite what she implies. The bracelet was a gift after we won a major contract together. Nothing romantic. But she wanted more." Yeonhee's jaw tightened. "When I made creative director at Sterling and she didn't, she took it personally, started spreading rumors, undermining my projects. I thought a transferring here would end it. But she followed you. She got hired 6 months after me. A senior architect position I couldn't block without looking vindictive. She finally looked at me. I've been trying to manage her for 2 years, keep her appeased, give her challenging projects, anything to keep the peace. Until me. Until you." Her voice softened. "You walked into that elevator, and everything I'd built to keep people at a distance just shattered. One accidental kiss and I couldn't stop thinking about you. Couldn't stop finding excuses to keep you near. My heart was doing dangerous things in my chest. The Romano's coffee. You noticed I was left-handed. You remembered my portfolio. I notice everything about you, Somin." She set down her mug, hands restless. "What you eat for lunch, how you bite your lip when you're concentrating, the way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're nervous. I'm not supposed to notice these things. I'm supposed to be professional. And the bet? Never happened. But Ji-won's smart." Yeonhee's expression darkened. "She knew if she could make you believe I was using you, you'd run. And without you, I'd go back to being the Ice Queen. Controllable, predictable, easy to destroy." I reached for my whiskey, needing the burn. Why does she care so much? If it's been 4 years. Because I'm the one thing she couldn't have. Couldn't manipulate. Couldn't break. Yeonhee's eyes met mine. "Until you. You're my weakness. And she knows it." The rain fell harder. Thunder rumbled in the distance. "So, what do we do?" I asked. "We prove she sabotaged the Kingston project. Get her fired. Possibly arrested." She said it so matter-of-factly, like corporate espionage was a Tuesday task. "But that takes time. Evidence. Strategy. And until then? Until then, you stay close." She shifted slightly toward me. "I know that's asking a lot. After everything. After the lies and the fear and—" "I kissed you," I interrupted. "In the parking garage. After you told me the truth. There wasn't fear or confusion or—" I stopped, cheeks heating. I wanted to. Something ignited in her gaze. "Somin, I'm terrified," I admitted. "Of Ji-won. Of whatever game she's playing. Of how I feel when you look at me like that. I set down my glass before I dropped it. But I'm not running. Not this time. She moved closer. Just inches. Close enough that I could see the gold in her eyes catching lamplight. "You should," she whispered. "I'm not good at this. At caring about someone more than winning. Then learn." Her breath hitched. "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." I reached up, fingers brushing the bandage on her temple. "You took a metal beam for me. You've been buying coffee from Romano's every morning, even though I wasn't there to bring it. You're keeping me in your home because you're afraid someone will hurt me." My hand slid to her cheek. "You're already caring, Yeonhee. You're just too scared to admit it." She leaned into my touch, eyes closing. "If I do this," she said quietly, "if I let myself feel this, I won't be able to stop. Won't be able to let you go." "Good." Her eyes opened, dark and burning. "This is a terrible idea." "You said that already. I'm your boss, the power dynamic. I don't care. Jiwon will use this against us." I kissed her, pulled her close and kissed her the way I'd wanted to since the elevator, and since the coffee, since every moment she'd pretended not to notice me while noticing everything. She made a sound, surprise or surrender, and then her arms wrapped around me, pulling me into her lap as she kissed me back, with 3 weeks of denied want finally unleashed. Her hands slid into my hair. My fingers tangled in her shirt. The careful distance we'd maintained exploded into heat and breath, and the kind of desperate closeness that felt like falling and flying at once. When we finally broke apart, both gasping, her forehead rested against mine. "Stay tonight," she whispered. "Please, I need to know you're safe." "Okay." She pulled back slightly, searching my face. "Just sleep. I'm not... This isn't... I know." I touched her lips, silencing the spiral. "Just sleep." She nodded, relieved and disappointed in equal measure. We stayed tangled together on the couch while rain drummed the windows, and the city hummed beyond the walls, and something fragile and dangerous took root between us. I fell asleep to the sound of her heartbeat. Steady, human, real. I woke to voices, low, angry, coming from the hallway. Yeonhee was gone from the couch. Pale light filtered through the windows. Dawn, barely. I stood quietly, following the sound. She stood by the door, phone pressed to her ear, voice sharp with controlled fury. "I don't care what it costs. I want every security camera in that garage pulled. Every keycard access log. Every..." She stopped, listening. "No, not the police. Not yet. I need proof before..." She turned and saw me. Guilt flashed across her face. "I'll call you back." She hung up. "I didn't mean to wake you." "What's happening?" She hesitated, then held out her phone. An email, sent 2 hours ago, from an anonymous address. Subject: Final warning. Attached: a photo of us, in her car last night. Kissing. Below it, a single line. "End this, or I'll make sure everyone knows the Ice Queen breaks HR policy for her little projects. Sterling's board doesn't forgive scandals. Choose. Her job, or yours." I stared at the screen, feeling cold spread through my chest. "Jiwon?" I whispered. "Has to be." Yeonhee took the phone back, jaw tight. "She's escalating. What do we do?" Before she could answer, someone knocked on the door. 3 sharp raps. We both froze. Yeonhee moved to the peephole, looked through, and went completely pale. "What?" I asked. "Who is it?" She opened the door. Jiwon stood there, a perfect even at dawn, holding a manila envelope. Her smile was poison wrapped in silk. "Good morning, darling. I hope I'm not interrupting anything." Her eyes slid to me. "Oh, Somin. What a surprise, finding you here. Yeonhee's voice was ice. Leave. Now. I will. Right after I deliver this. She held out the envelope. Termination paperwork, for both of you, signed by the board, effective immediately. My world tilted. You can't. I can. And I did. Ji-won's smile widened. Sexual harassment, abuse of power, fraudulent hiring practices. I have documentation, witnesses, everything Sterling's legal team needs to bury you both. She leaned closer to Yeonhee. You should have chosen me when you had the chance. Then she turned and walked away, heels clicking down the hall like a countdown, and Yeonhee stared at the envelope in her hands. When she finally looked at me, I saw something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Defeat. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. The termination papers sat between us like a death sentence. I watched her hands shake as she opened the envelope, and I realized the Ice Queen was melting, and it was destroying her. Yeonhee didn't cry. She just stood there, reading the documents with the same focused intensity she gave everything, like if she studied them hard enough, they'd change. They didn't. Sexual harassment, she read aloud, voice hollow. Abuse of power, creating a hostile work environment through inappropriate romantic pursuit of a subordinate. She looked up. They're saying I coerced you. My chest tightened. That's not true. Doesn't matter. Ji-won has witness statements. Emails I sent asking you to work late. Security footage of us alone in my office after hours. She set the papers down carefully. She's been building this case for weeks, maybe longer. Then we fight it. We tell them the truth. The truth? Her laugh was bitter. That I kept you close because I couldn't stop thinking about you. That I assigned you to my personal projects, so I'd have an excuse to see you every day. That makes it worse, Somin. That proves intent. She walked to the window, arms wrapped around herself like armor that didn't fit anymore. I was supposed to be smarter than this. I crossed to her, stood close enough to feel her warmth. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. She wouldn't look at me. I knew Ji-won was dangerous. I knew getting close to you would give her ammunition. And I did it anyway because for once in my life I wanted something more than I wanted to win. Her voice cracked on the last word. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. How don't. Yeonhee, you should go. She finally turned, and I saw tears she refused to let fall. Pack your things. Find another job, somewhere Ji-won can't touch. I'll make sure you get a reference, compensation, whatever you need to. I'm not leaving you. You have to. Her composure was fracturing, voice rising. Don't you understand? She won. She took everything. My career, my reputation, my... She stopped, chest heaving. If you stay, she'll destroy you too. And I can't. I won't let that happen. So you're just giving up? I'm protecting you. By pushing me away? By letting her win? I stepped closer, forcing her to see me. You saved my life when that scaffolding collapsed. You fought for me when the partners wanted to use me as a bet. And you've been protecting me since the moment I stumbled into that elevator. My hands found her face, holding her still. Let me protect you this time. A tear slipped free. Just one. Tracking down her cheek like surrender. I don't know how to let people in, she whispered. Everyone I've ever cared about leaves, or betrays me, or realizes I'm not worth the trouble. Who left? She closed her eyes. My father. We sat on the floor, backs against the couch, close but not touching. Dawn light painted the room in shades of gray. Yeonhee spoke to the ceiling. like eye contact would shatter her. He was a developer. Small projects at first, then bigger. He taught me everything. How to read blueprints, negotiate contracts, see the bones of a building before it existed. Her voice was distant. He was brilliant and ruthless. And when I was 16, he disappeared. Disappeared. Walked out one morning and never came home. Left my mother with debt. Me with questions. She paused. 3 months later, they found his body in the East River. Officially ruled an accident. Unofficially, she stopped. Unofficially what? The Kingston Project? The waterfront development Sterling is building. Her jaw tightened. That's my father's land. He bought it 20 years ago. Planned his legacy project there. But he had partners. Dangerous ones. And when he tried to back out of their arrangement, She didn't finish. Didn't need to. They killed him, I breathed. I can't prove it. I've spent 12 years trying, but every time I get close, evidence disappears. Witnesses recant. Files go missing. She finally looked at me. That's why I took the Sterling job. Why I fought for the Kingston Project. I thought if I could build something there, finish what he started, I could find the truth. Or at least honor his memory. She smiled, broken. Instead, I fell for a girl in an elevator and gave Jaiwan the ammunition to end my career before I could finish what I started. My heart ached for her. For the 16-year-old who lost her father. For the woman who'd spent 12 years chasing ghosts through blueprints and permits. The partners who killed your father, I said slowly. Are they connected to Sterling? I don't know. Maybe. The company's been around for 30 years. My father's partners were developers, investors, the kind of people who work in shadows. She rubbed her face. I've been looking for connections, but it's like searching for smoke. Something clicked in my mind. Jiwon knew about your father. Yeonhee went still. What? When she sabotaged the Kingston permits, she didn't just target random projects. She went after the one thing you care about most. I turned to face her fully. What if she's not just obsessed with you? What if she's working with them? That's... Yeonhee stopped. I could see her mind racing. The permit denials, the structural plan leaks. She'd need inside access to city planning, investor networks, legal documentation. Everything a senior architect would have. And everything my father's partners would need to keep the Kingston land buried. We stared at each other as the pieces fell into place. She's not trying to destroy you out of jealousy, I said. She's trying to destroy the project. You're just collateral damage. Yeonhee stood abruptly. In pulled out her phone, started pacing. If she's connected to my father's partners, there'll be a trail. Financial records, communications, something linking her to... She stopped mid-stride. The harassment case, the witness statements she fabricated. She had to forge signatures, manipulate timestamps, create false documentation. Which means she made mistakes. Which means she left evidence. Yeonhee's eyes blazed with something I recognized. Hope wrapped in determination. We have until Monday before the termination becomes official. 72 hours to prove she fabricated everything. How? We break into Sterling's servers, pull her email records, find the original files she doctored. She looked at me. It's illegal. Risky. If we get caught... We're already fired, I finished. Heck, what's a little corporate espionage on top of sexual harassment charges? Her smile was sharp. Dangerous. The Ice Queen was back. I need to make calls, pull in favors. She was already moving toward her laptop. There's a security consultant I worked with before. Freelance hacker. Very expensive. Very discreet. Yeonhee? She paused. Thank you, I said quietly, for telling me about your father, for trusting me. Something soft flickered across her face. You're the first person I've told in 12 years. She crossed back to me, cupped my cheek. Thank you for staying, for not running when you had every reason to. I leaned into her touch. Where else would I go? She kissed me then, soft, careful, like I was something precious she was afraid to break. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. We should eat something, make a plan, figure out. Her phone buzzed. She checked the screen and went pale. What is it? She turned the phone toward me. An email, from Sterling's legal department, sent to both of us. Subject: mandatory hearing. Monday 9. You are required to appear before the board to address allegations of professional misconduct. Failure to attend will result in immediate termination and potential legal action. Come prepared to defend your employment. Below the official message, a new email. Anonymous sender. If you show up Monday, I'll make sure everyone knows what really happened to your father. The police, the press, your mother. Back down, or I'll destroy everything he died protecting. I looked up at Yeonhee. Her hand was shaking so hard she nearly dropped the phone. She knows, Yeonhee whispered. She knows I've been investigating. She knows about my father. She knows. Another email arrived. This one had an attachment. A photo of a younger Yeonhee, maybe 17, standing beside a man who had her eyes. Her father. They were smiling, holding blueprints, standing on empty land. The Kingston Project site. Below the photo, a message. He died because he asked too many questions. Don't make the same mistake. Walk away from Somin. Walk away from the hearing. Walk away from the truth. Or join him. Yeonhee's knees gave out. I caught her, lowered us both to the floor, as her breath came in gasps that sounded like breaking. I can't, she choked out. I can't let them win again. But I can't lose you either. I can't. Hey. I held her face, forced her to look at me. We're not backing down. We're not walking away. And we're sure as hell not letting Jiwon and whoever she's working with win. They'll kill me, like they killed him. Not if we expose them first. She stared at me, terrified and desperate and clinging to my hands like anchors. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. How to fight them and keep you safe, and you don't have to do it alone anymore. I kissed her forehead, her temple, the scar above her eyebrow. We're going to that hearing. We're going to prove Jiwon fabricated everything. And then we're going to finish what your father started. Somin. Together. She nodded, shaking but holding on. We stayed on the floor while dawn turned to morning, and the anonymous threats kept arriving, each one more vicious than the last. But we didn't run. We started planning. 3 hours later, Yeonhee's laptop screen glowed with security camera footage, server access protocols, and a digital trail that would either save us or bury us. There, she said, pointing at an email timestamp. Jiwon accessed my personnel file the same day she claims I harassed you. But look. I leaned closer. The file modification date is 3 weeks later. She went back and changed it, added false documentation. Yeonhee's fingers flew across the keyboard. If we can pull the original metadata. Her phone rang. Unknown number. We both froze. She answered on speaker. "Hello?" A voice, female, distorted through a modulator. "Choi Yeonhee, you have something that belongs to us. We want it back. I don't know what your father took documents before he died. Plans, financial records, and evidence that would destroy very powerful people." The voice was cold, clinical. "We know you have them. And we know you've been digging." Yeonhee's hand found mine. "I don't have anything." "Liar." A pause. "You have until Monday. Bring us the files. All of them. Or your little girlfriend pays the price your father did." The line went dead. Yeonhee stared at the phone like it was a bomb. "I don't have any files," she said, voice breaking. "My father didn't leave anything. I've been searching for 12 years and found nothing." "Then why do they think you have them?" "I don't know." But her eyes said different. "Yeonhee, what aren't you telling me?" She stood, walked to a bookshelf, pulled down a worn copy of an architecture textbook. Inside, hollowed out, a USB drive. "My father sent this to me the day before he died," she whispered. "I was 16. Didn't even have a computer. By the time I found a way to access it, the files were encrypted. I've spent 12 years trying to crack the password." She held it out to me. "This is what they want. And I don't even know what's on it." The USB drive sat between us like a loaded gun. 12 years of her father's secrets, encrypted behind a password she'd never cracked. Until I saw the date on the textbook spine. "When's your birthday?" I asked. Yeonhee looked up from the laptop where she'd been running decryption software for the past hour. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She hadn't slept. "What?" "Your birthday. When is it?" "March 14th. "Why?" I picked up the hollowed textbook, turned it over. The publication date stamped on the back, March 14th, 2002. "The year you were born." Her eyes widened. "You think? Try it. 3/14/02. She stared at me for a breath, then turned back to the laptop, fingers flying over keys. The encryption software blinked. Processing. We waited. 1 second. 2. 5. In access granted. Yeonhee made a sound, half laugh, half sob, and pulled me into a kiss so sudden and fierce it stole my breath. 12 years, she whispered against my lips. 12 years I've been trying every combination, every algorithm, and you! She kissed me again. You figured it out in 30 seconds. I just noticed the date. You noticed. Her hands framed my face. You see things I miss. You always have. The laptop chimed, files loading. We turned to the screen, still pressed close, and watched her father's secrets unfold. Blueprints, financial ledgers, email chains dating back 23 years, and photographs, dozens of them, showing men in expensive suits standing on the Kingston land, shaking hands, signing contracts. "That's him," Yeonhee breathed, and pointing to a younger version of the man from the earlier photo. Her father. "And that's..." She stopped, went completely still. "What? Who is it?" Her finger moved to another face in the photograph. Older man, silver hair, familiar in a way that made my stomach turn. "James Sterling," she whispered. "The founder of Sterling and Associates, the man who hired me." The room tilted. "Your boss knew your father." "More than knew him. Look." She opened another file. A contract dated 1998. Partnership agreement between her father and 3 other men, James Sterling, Robert Chen, and Michael Park. Michael Park. "Jiwon's father," I said. Yeonhee nodded. face pale. They were business partners, all of them, on the Kingston project. She clicked through more files, and the story assembled itself like a nightmare. 4 men, and 1 development deal, millions of dollars in investment capital, and 1 partner, Yeonhee's father, who discovered the others were using the Kingston land to launder money from illegal overseas investments. He tried to expose them. Yeonhee read from an email chain, voice shaking. Went to the authorities, but Sterling and the others had connections, judges, prosecutors, people who made the evidence disappear. She opened another file. A letter, handwritten, addressed to a teenage Yeonhee. My daughter, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. I'm sorry I couldn't be stronger, couldn't fight them the way you deserve, but I'm leaving you the truth. Everything I found. Every lie they told. Every crime they buried. Don't try to avenge me. Don't let this consume you. Just live. Be happy. I build beautiful things. But if you must finish what I started, and I know you, so you will, be smarter than I was. Don't trust the system. Trust yourself. I love you more than blueprints and buildings, and all the legacy in the world. Dad Yeonhee's hands trembled as she touched the screen, tracing the words like she could reach through time and hold him. He knew, she whispered. He knew they'd kill him. And he did it anyway. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, chin on her shoulder. He was protecting you. Protecting the truth. And I walked right into Sterling's office 6 years later like an idiot. Let him hire me. Let him? She stopped, breath hitching. Oh, God. He hired me because he wanted to keep me close. I'd make sure I never found this drive. But you did find it. And now they know. She turned in my arms, eyes red-rimmed. That phone call. They're not bluffing. If we go to that hearing Monday, if we expose them, they'll come after us the way they came after your father. We sat in the silence of that truth. Outside, the city hummed with normal life. People getting coffee, going to work, living in a world where powerful men didn't murder architects over waterfront developments. But we didn't live in that world anymore. We could run, Yeonhee said quietly. Take the drive. Disappear. Start over somewhere they can't find us. Would you? She looked at me, really looked, and I saw the answer before she spoke. No, because they'd win. Again. And my father would have died for nothing. Then we fight. They'll destroy us. Maybe. I took her hand. But at least we'll go down swinging. Her smile was small, broken, beautiful. When did you get so brave? When I met someone worth being brave for. She kissed me then, slow and deep and tasting like tears and coffee, and something that felt dangerously close to love. When we broke apart, she rested her forehead against mine. I need to tell you something, she whispered, before this gets worse. Before we walk into that hearing and potentially lose everything. What? I'm falling for you. Her voice cracked. I know it's fast. I know it's reckless. I know we've only known each other a month. And most of that was me being terrible at feelings, and you being too good for me. But I kissed her quiet. I'm already there. I breathed against her lips. I fell the moment you caught me in that elevator. I just didn't know it yet. Her arms tightened around me like I was the only solid thing in a crumbling world. We stayed like that while the laptop screen dimmed to black, and the files full of evidence waited, and the people who killed her father planned our destruction. But for one moment, one fragile, perfect moment, none of it mattered. Just us, Just this. Just the feeling of being chosen by someone who'd spent 12 years building walls to keep everyone out. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered. "Not because of danger or threats or just because I don't want to be alone." Okay. We ordered takeout. Thai food from a place down the street that knew her order by heart. Drunken noodles, extra spicy, spring rolls. "Always spring rolls," the delivery guy recited when I answered the door. "Tell Yeonhee Min says hi." I brought the bags inside to find her on the couch, laptop closed, staring at nothing. "Min says hi." She blinked. "Oh. Yeah. I helped his daughter with her college applications last year. Architecture school." "You did?" She wanted to follow her dreams. Her parents couldn't afford a consultant. Yeonhee shrugged, but something soft crossed her face. "I know what that's like." I set the food down, sat beside her. "Tell me something else. Something that isn't case files or corporate espionage or murder conspiracies." "Like what?" "Like who you were before all this. Before the Ice Queen. Before Sterling." She considered, then reached for the spring rolls. "I wanted to build libraries, free ones, in neighborhoods that couldn't afford them." She took a bite, smiled at the memory. "My father used to take me to the public library every Saturday. Let me check out as many books as I could carry. He said architecture wasn't just about building for the rich. It was about creating spaces where people could become who they were meant to be. That's beautiful. That's why I became an architect. Not for skyscrapers or prestige. For the kid who needs somewhere safe to dream." She looked at me. "What about you? Why architecture?" "My mom cleaned office buildings, worked nights. I pulled my knees to my chest. I'd go with her sometimes when I was little, wander through these empty spaces after everyone left, and I'd imagine them differently, warmer, more human, less like cages." I paused, remembering. I wanted to design buildings that felt like homes, even the corporate ones, spaces where people could breathe. Yeonhee's hand found mine. "We're quite a pair. Two idealists drowning in capitalism. At least we're drowning together." She laughed, real and unguarded, and pulled me closer. We ate on the couch, legs tangled, trading stories that had nothing to do with Sterling or Jaiwan or danger. Just two people learning each other in the spaces between crisis. "I can't cook," she admitted. "Burned water once. Actual water. How is that possible? Left the pot on high. Forgot about it. Came back to a smoke-filled kitchen and a ruined pot." She grinned. "My mother still brings it up at holidays." "Your mother? Does she know? About your father's files? About what you've been investigating?" The lightness faded. "No. I never told her. She remarried 5 years ago. Found happiness. I didn't want to drag her back into the nightmare." Yeonhee's jaw tightened. "But if we go public with this evidence, it'll destroy her peace. She'll have to relive his death, face the truth about how he died. We could still run. Could we?" I looked at her, at the woman who'd spent 12 years searching for justice, who saved me from falling scaffolding, who kissed me like I was oxygen and she'd been drowning. "No," I admitted. "We couldn't." She kissed my temple. "That's why I'm falling for you. You see who I am and you don't run." "Same." We finished eating in comfortable silence, then migrated to her bed. Just asleep, clothes on, safe distance between us. Except distance didn't last. Her arm draped over my waist, my back pressed against her chest, and her breath warm against my neck. "Soman? Yeah?" "I'm scared." I turned in her arms, found her eyes in the darkness. "Me too." What if we lose? What if they destroy the evidence and bury us the way they buried my father? Then we lose together. That's not comforting. It's honest. She smiled despite the fear. You're terrible at pep talks. I'm an architect, not a motivational speaker. She pulled me closer, lips brushing my forehead. Thank you for staying. For believing me. For... Her voice caught. For making me feel less alone. I tilted my head up, found her mouth in the dark. The kiss was different this time. Not desperate or rushed. Just tender. Real. The kind of kiss that felt like a promise neither of us could guarantee we'd keep. When sleep finally came, we were still tangled together. Still holding on. And still pretending the morning wouldn't bring the fight of our lives. I woke to sunlight and an empty bed. Panic spiked through me. Yeonhee? No answer. I scrambled up, heart racing, and found her standing by the window, phone pressed to her ear, face ashen. She hung up as I approached. What happened? That was Sterling's assistant. Her voice was hollow. The hearing's been moved, from Monday to today. 2 hours. What? They can't just... They can. Emergency session. All board members required. She turned to me. Ji-won accelerated the timeline. She knows we found the files. How would she? My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. I opened the message. A photo of us, asleep in Yeonhee's bed, taken from outside the window. Below it. Time's up. Destroy the drive and walk away. Or, we'll make sure neither of you walks out of that boardroom alive. The photo. The threat. The video of Ji-won with the killers. We have 90 minutes before the hearing. Yeonhee looks at me and says the words I've been dreading. If we do this, one of us might not make it out. I kiss her. Hard. Final. Then let's make these 90 minutes count. The drive is in her pocket. The truth is on that drive. The killers are in that boardroom. And we're about to walk in and destroy them all. Or die trying. See you in the boardroom. Comment. Part 2 now. If you can't wait. Like if your heart is pounding. Subscribe or you'll miss the war. Part 2 drops soon. Don't you dare miss it.